All right, well, we wrap it up every week for you guys here with Keyboard Warriors. Hot take segment brought to you by our good friends at Barrel Theory Beer Company. This week, we got home games Thursday and Saturday against Montreal and Dallas. Make sure you're checking them out. Sections 105, 112, 217, C36. Tag us on Twitter. We'll share it, whatever. Get the word out about the delicious crawlers. And this week, they've got tonight, Wednesday, as this drops, bingo at 6 p.m. And they got disco dogs from 4 to 8. Thursday, they've got pints for a purpose with aces for kids from 4 to 9 and disco dogs again from 4 to 8. I don't know if that's a typo or not, but we're going with it. Friday, they've got K-Thai Street Eats. I don't even know that one. That's fun. And it's their debut. There we go, from 4 to 8. Saturday, MN Smoke Barbecue from 4 to 8, which is incredible. And then, of course, Sunday, the Vikings watch party with $5 lagers and $5 raindrops as long as the Vikings game is going on. Joe, we got a couple interesting ones here this week that we're going to hop right through. All right, let's see. The first one here coming, let's see, regarding Matt Boldy. Let's see, did I put the right tweet in here? We're going to see. Oh, yeah. So we're talking about Matt Boldy here. Let's see. No, I don't have the right tweet here. This is a bummer. We're going to circle back on that one, and I'll find it later. Yeah. We'll start with the interesting one that actually just popped up earlier today as we record from Jakub Lauko. So the Spit and Chicklets account put up the post about Landon Sim from the London Knights getting a 5-gamer for calling a player Mennonite. Lauko comes in and says, not trying to offend anyone here. It's usually the way you lead a post when you might offend someone. But are we actually trying to make junior hockey as soft as possible? I want to lead here by saying I think context is probably pretty important, and the words that maybe surrounded it. I don't know, because I asked this of other people, Joe, because I honestly maybe ignorant. I didn't know if like Mennonite was like a slur or like something that you would say as like an attack on someone. Now, again, the words that are wrapped around that word can certainly change the inflection and the meaning, but it was one where I like stopped and I'm like, why did he say this? But at the same time, I was like, I guess I don't know. Like, is that a big deal? It must be if they gave him a 5-gamer. I just don't know.
Yeah, and like that's a tough one. Like I think where he's coming from, I don't, like he said, he doesn't want to, it to get to a point where leagues are quote unquote getting soft on stuff. And it's a touchy subject when you talk about different things that could be considered offensive to other people or that. But yeah, I don't think right now that he was trying to drive a point home about that. I think more so of defending what the play and what everything should be like in the OHL or what the experience people have had in that league for it. So there's certainly a lot of other issues in the OHL off the ice or other, junior hockey leagues that have been going on with what's been going. But I just don't think that this was something that we haven't had him on the show yet. We haven't talked to him about this in particular, but I don't think it was something where he's meant to driving home a negative point regarding the use of that term. I think it's just regarding making sure that don't want to make hockey.
Calling names being a 5-game suspension is maybe weird. Yeah. No, I feel it. And yeah, again, this isn't going after him. It's more just an interesting take that we had to kind of address here because I know everyone saw it. The tweet blew up. I did find the other one here addressing Matt Boldy. A little technical difficulties on my side. So we got Chris Shad and Alex Micheletti going back and forth here. Chris says, also, the Matt Boldy only scores against the Sharks bit is still a thing. And Micheletti replies, Chris, he leads the team in goals. What more do you want? He's scored against Toronto, Florida, and Tampa, 3 of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Chris rebuttals with, and yet none of those teams are ones he'll have to beat to get the Wild deep into the playoffs. I don't think he's trash by any means, but he's more Mitch Marner than the hockey god people made him out to be. Would love to be proven wrong. I'll let you tackle this to start, Joe. I got plenty of thoughts.
Are we really nitpicking goal scoring the first 10 games of a season against, like, this guy's already been like a 40-goal scorer in the league, right? And I've seen him score against all these top teams, right? Like, it's fair to say, and it's fair to point out the lack of playoff success for Matt Boldy and for the Minnesota Wild in particular. So, hey, I get that. But all of a sudden, if we're ranking regular season goals and split stats against opponent, I much point out like the game-winning goals that he has scored this season, right?
Mm-hmm.
The times that he's come over in big moments, like on even Sunday's game in Chicago, that for that game to go into overtime. So for me, it's less about every goal you score has to be against the Colorado Avalanche. It's, are you scoring the goals that either tie the game or put your
That's
team
a bad
ahead?
one this year, Joe. That's a bad one this year.
Or yeah, sorry,
Everyone's scoring goals against Colorado. I got your point. I got your point.
And that for me, like, you know, if someone hits 40 home runs in baseball and they hit 12 against the Marlins, they still have 40 home run hitter, right?
That's
Like
right.
they play in the same division as the Florida Marlins or whatever. So
yeah,
I see that. I understand it to a certain respect, but pick the wrong target for that particular point of view, because not been a lot of softies for him this year, and a lot of meaningful goals and a really good start for the Minnesota Wild for Matt Boldy.
Well, it's like, what do you want him to do right now to prove that he can score playoff goals? He can't score playoff goals right now. That's just not possible. Yeah. I don't know how we can work that. And it is just funny how, like, if someone compared me to Mitch Marner as an insult, it'd be the best day of my life. Like, I'm sorry to say, like, he's not trash, but he's more Mitch Marner than hockey god. Like, what does that mean? Like, I get the point of it is like, oh, Mitch Marner doesn't like do what he needs to in the playoffs, but it's really weird that we're going to take like one of the better players in the league who somehow, because he plays in Toronto, people think he sucks. Like, it's just bizarre to me. But hey, people got to have their Twitter conjecture and, hot takes, and we will take all of them here for this segment. Didn't know if you had anything else there.
No, just wait till they're teammates next year, right? So just enjoy the time when you have it. But no, we love all the hot takes, and they're always
one more.
One more?
Yep. This is a quick one, but I just got to get your initial opinion on it, because we talked about it on Judd's Buds on Monday night. Elliot Friedman talks about a certain player being waived by Nashville Predators, being claimed off those waivers by the Columbus Blue Jackets, and impact it may have on a certain blue chip, blue line prospect, David Jiricek. He's had some struggles, not a shock, or not, it is a shock, not unknown to most, but some of it's on him. A lot of it's on the org too. Maybe he's on his way out. And some fans were speculating on the post I made that if that's going to happen, and we think we're not keeping Marco Rossi because that keeps on getting thrown around, could a Rossi for Jiricek swap make sense?
Well, I think it's the kind of thing where Bill Guerin was open to going into the year of having a trade where you'd have two familiar, like, top 10 quality players or top prospects, maybe not, necessarily always live up to the hype, with a champ with a lot of upside, soft for each other, right? But I think Rossi, after last year, and I think this year, I know he's been up and down recently, but I think he's one of those guys it'd be too early for me to give up on him at this point. Just knowing how long this franchise worked to develop a homegrown number one center. And the fact that they're hoping Yeroff comes over next year and is ready to go and is that top six guy, and I get why it could be crowded in the top six with all the different guys that are there. You can't play everybody in the top six, whatever. So, but I just think we'll let this one play out a little longer. There's not a significant, unless there's injuries, need on the blue line. You will see most likely Zeev Byam show up and play for the Minnesota Wild after the Frozen Four this year. Not that you couldn't use a prospect like Jiricek and like that, but I just don't. I see the idea of having a trade where you have a top prospect, two guys that maybe aren't in the team's future on either side, being soft for each other and getting a change of scenery. But I still think, for Rossi's concerned, having depth up the middle and having a guy who could be in that spot and potentially grow into 25, whatever. He thinks he can be a 30-goal scorer. We'll see what happens. But I think letting him play out a little bit more. He's still going to be RFA in the summertime. Decide if you want to do a bridge deal or you can trade him then.
That's where I'm at. I think this summer is when it would make a lot more sense. And to play the other side, because I'm with you, Joe. I don't want to move on from Marco Rossi. I think that point has been made very clear. But you've got a fan base that's a little concerned about what was once a flush blue line like development system, right? And people are starting to think that a lot of those are falling off and not going to pan out as NHLers. Jiricek is a guy that has quite the pedigree, but it's the same kind of thing for their side too, right? Like they don't want to give up on him, but oh wait, we could get a center like Marco Rossi, who weird. Maybe Dean Evison would be like, yes, please. But I hope Rossi's not on his way out, but it could be one of those things where, hey, maybe Yurov does come in at the same time as Boyum, give or take, depending on how deep his team goes this year. It could be an interesting proposition this summer, or even at the deadline if they really think that's going to happen, or if they just know, hey, we're moving on. But if the team's doing as good as they're doing right now, it'd be crazy to trade Rossi in season. Like that just doesn't make any sense if the actual motive here is to do something in the playoffs. So
yeah, and it'd be crazy to think about this team as a deadline buyer too. I mean, and they very well could be
in this economy.
Well, whatever cap space you have, but if you're a team like that and you stay healthy and you don't have LTIR injuries, you won't have a lot of cap space. But where they were last year to where they think they can be this year is quite a flip, assuming the stays the way it is, or at least somewhere close to it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, again, everyone, thank you to our great friends, Barrel Theory Beer Company, for the weekly hot takes. Go check them out.